Hi, this is LeTa, a licensed acupuncturist and herbalist, doctor of acupuncture and Oriental medicine fellow, graduating in the next couple months. So, I wanted to talk to you about the therapeutic benefits of cannabis sativa L. So, the use of cannabis for medicinal purposes is deeply rooted through history, dating back to ancient times. It once held a prominent position in the history of medicine, recommended by many eminent physicians for numerous diseases. Through the decades, the plant has taken a fascinating journey from a legal and frequently prescribed status to illegal, driven by political, social factors rather than science. But, however, with an abundance of growing support for its multitude of medicinal purposes, the misguided stigma of cannabis is fading, and there has been a dramatic push for legalizing medicinal cannabis and research. So, the beauty of living in a modern world, we have the advantage of science and technology. So through the discovery of the endocannabinoid system that I'm going to talk about in the 1990s by Israeli researcher Dr. Raphael Mechoulam, we have just scratched the surface of a world of possibilities about a system that not only produces cannabinoids, but accepts those of the cannabis plant. Because the ECS, endocannabinoid system's main role is to maintain homeostasis, it overlaps with Chinese medicine's main goal of balancing yin and yang. So many branches of Chinese medicine may then benefit the ECS, and hence we have entered a modern context to explore. So as a Chinese doctor, and cannabis being one of the original herbs, and as an herbalist, I'm super passionate to educate you to demystify this plant, and to just so you are empowered to understand how to have a medicinal relationship with it. So, my background is Chinese doctor, fitness instructor, qigong teacher, and many different lifetimes and seasons of different careers. However, I was brought into Chinese medicine and learning about the endocannabinoid system and learning about CBD through personal experiences, through my sister getting diagnosed with cancer, through my parents having an accident. So as you go through life and as things happen to you and people that you love, you seek out quote unquote alternative solutions where Western medicine might not have helped. And so here we are. I want to go over the endocannabinoid system. I want to go over the history and benefits of cannabis, but most importantly, I want to talk about how do you use it. Should you vape? Should you do topicals, bombs? Should I be doing THC? Do I do hemp? So I'm going to try to go over this very succinctly so you feel confident about buying online, going into dispensary, and so you have access to the plant. So, why did I look into cannabis sativa for myself, my patients, and my family? Well, I did kind of briefly just mention the fact that my parents got into an accident and lots of broken bones. And the fact is, a lot of people cannot actually take opioids because they get nausea and vomiting. So when that happens is that there's no receptors in the brainstem for cannabinoids, so you can't overdose on cannabis, unlike opioids. So because my mom was so nauseous and she couldn't be on any pain meds, I was able to administer cannabis in the form of tinctures and capsules, sublingual, nanoliposomal technology, and to get the cannabis right into the bloodstream within 30 seconds so I could manage her pain with no pain medication. It was really, really profound. Okay, so let's take a look at the health conditions influenced by cannabinoids. Take a look at this list. So when you're looking at all these different conditions, the question is, why does one herb help so many conditions? Well, it's because of the endocannabinoid system. So we nickname it the ECS. So if you look at all those other systems, as a human on the planet, year 2018, you're very familiar with all the different aspects of your body. But what you might not realize, the endocannabinoid system, which was discovered in the 90s, like I said, from Dr. Raphael Mechoulam in Israel. But what's really amazing is that the endocannabinoid system is believed to have more cellular receptor sites than any other system. So what that means is it's involved in every aspect of health. So the endocannabinoid system was named after the cannabis plant that inspired its discovery. What does it do? Well, first of all, It's a endocannabinoid synthesis. It's an adaptive response. Okay, so its main goal is homeostasis at a cellular level. One of the things I did in my research for my capstone for my doctorate is I lived in PubMed for a long time, and looking at clinical trials, looking at articles, reviews, meta-analysis. And if you search endocannabinoid in '93, there were only 10 citations, and in 2017, oh my gosh, over 8,400. So we've come a long way with researching what is this system, how does it work, what is cannabis, what is it doing in the body. So a lot of medical institutions around the world are having funding finally to take a look at how is this helping us. Okay, so I talked about having the endocannabinoid system involved in every aspect of health. So what does this mean? Well, first of all, there's six aspects. So the first is nutrition, dietary cofactors. These are required building blocks for your endocannabinoid system to function optimally. So nutrition, that's going to be first. The second thing is the endocannabinoid system is going to work and going to release cannabinoids. It's going to create endocannabinoids based on your specific demands and needs of your body. So once created, these endocannabinoids that you make engage in these receptor sites in a lock and key fashion. And then once engaged, neurotransmitters are going to be released, sending messages to your cells, your tissues, your organs, other systems of the body to maintain or create optimal health. So your body may maintain constant endocannabinoid system balance by enzymatically degrading endocannabinoids, and when necessary, they release it based on your body's needs. So again, in a nutshell, a perfectly functioning endocannabinoid system ensures harmony, it's going to balance in your cells, tissues, and organs, and this is known as homeostasis. So the endocannabinoid system is going to regulate many aspects of health: physical, emotional, mental health. And then there's an overall list there. So I did mention this. The endocannabinoid system is believed to have more cellular receptor sites than any other system. But what's amazing is that this endocannabinoid system exists in all animals except non-chordate invertebrates. So insects, nematodes, hydra, fungi, and plants. So if we realize this, then, that's why you're seeing pet CBD. A lot of animals are on CBD and cannabinoids now, but every living thing for 600 million years with a vertebrae has an endocannabinoid system, which means these animals make cannabinoids, so not just humans. So I want to talk about the receptors because they are all over your body. So CB1 receptors and CB2 receptors, and CB again means cannabinoid. So as I said, the endocannabinoid system is an elegant lock and key-like cell signaling receptor site system that may be activated by the endocannabinoids produced naturally in your body or by phytocannabinoids, which are plant-based cannabinoids that mimic those produced in your body. So these cannabinoids fit lock and key two receptor sites, so CB1 and CB2 receptors, and may release an intricate cascade of neurotransmitters that communicate vital information to cells, tissues, and organs and glands critical to maintaining optimal health and homeostasis. Okay, so you have this endocannabinoid system, you have these receptors, you're gonna produce these cannabinoids on demand, but if your body is not producing them, you can take an external cannabinoid from a plant, a phytocannabinoid from cannabis, that then once in the body, it's going to mimic the ones that are produced by your body. So pretty phenomenal that you have receptors in your brain all over your body for the cannabis plant. This is huge news. Okay, so let's be a little bit specific on where the receptors are located, because then you're going to understand why or how this one plant can affect so many different aspects of health. CB1 receptors, so in the central nervous system, the testes, the uterus, adipose tissue, connective tissue, endocrine glands, exocrine glands, leukocytes, spleen, heart, GI tract, and liver. That's a lot. Now, CB2 receptors, so specific organs and immune. So what this means is we have the specific organs are liver and spleen. We have central nervous system, tonsils, the enteric nervous system, but also for immune, we have monocytes, macrophages, B cells, T cells. So as you can tell, these receptors are almost everywhere. So endocannabinoid system, roles in reproduction. Wow, look at all these things that the endocannabinoid system is going to modulate. Embryonic development, neuroplasticity. We thought that we couldn't regenerate brain cells. Well, that's not the case. You can. Neuroprotection, brain inflammation, immunity, inflammation, apoptosis, which is cell death, carcinogenesis, pain, emotional memory, hunger, and metabolism. So pretty broad, pretty amazing. So what are these cannabinoids? Well, they're a class of chemicals that include the active ingredient of cannabis. So first of all, there's currently 4 classes of cannabinoids. First, phytocannabinoids. They occur in plants, such as cannabis. The endocannabinoids, endo means internal, endogenous, naturally occurring in the brain. Synthetic, synthetic cannabinoids are created in laboratories and are not known to exist naturally. I'm not sure why anyone would want to get cannabis in a pill from a doctor. And then there are terpenes that mimic cannabinoid molecules, like echinacea, black pepper, rosemary, black truffle, carrot, Chinese rhododendron, helichrysum, flax, frankincense, liverwort, kava kava, and maca. So 4 different kinds of cannabinoids. Again, mainly we're looking at the ones that you want to create in your body by the brain. And then if you're not making them, if you're deficient, then you can take cannabinoids from a plant, which is great. So let's talk about the 2 cannabinoids that you make in your body, in your brain. They are endogenous. So first one is anandamide. Ananda is Sanskrit for bliss. We call this the bliss molecule. This is a CB1, CB2 agonist. It was discovered in 92. Actually, that slide is wrong. Sorry about that, not 82. Anandamide is found in chocolate. It's produced during meditation. It's part of the runner's high effect. So basically, when you're making anandamide, you're happy. Okay, so people that are not making anandamide have low mood and depression. That's why CBD is really good for depression. The next one is 2-arachidonoglycerol. We can just nickname it 2AG. This was discovered in 95, a couple years after when they identified anandamide, Dr. Raphael Mechoulam. It's a little bit different than anandamide because it's able to bind to both CB1 and CB2 receptors. And then again, both anandamide and 2AG are now known to play a main role in direct cell-to-cell communication. So in essence, these endocannabinoids that you make sure that all your cells of a particular type or a specific part of the body or the brain are going at the right pace in the right direction. The main thing to notice is that this is transferred in breast milk from the mom to the baby. And this is called the motivation molecule, okay? The motivation to thrive. So they did a study with rats and everything functioned. The suckling mechanism functioned. You know, if you blocked 2AG, even though everything worked, they wouldn't suckle. They would actually die because there was no motivation to thrive. So, you know, I kind of nicknamed the 2AG for anyone, you know, that is not motivated. You know, they're not really inspired about their life. So this is another one, which is really interesting. Okay, so now, if you're not making anandamide and 2AG, these cannabinoids in your body, then you can take cannabinoids from a plant, right? So there are over 150 cannabinoids in the cannabis plant. The main 2 are THC and CBD. THC, most of us know that gives us that mild psychoactive high feeling, and CBD is non-psychoactive. So THC is a supreme pain reliever. It reduces pain signals to the brain, especially effective against neuropathic, like nerve pain. It's good for malignant cellular apoptosis. Really great for anti-vomiting and nausea, feeling of depletion. It stimulates appetite. It's a strong anti-inflammatory. People that take THC get relief from asthma, chronic bronchitis, seizures, epilepsy. If you have a circadian rhythm sleeping disorder, PTSD, Tourette's, glaucoma. So nobody has ever overdosed on THCs because you don't have receptors in your brainstem. It might feel like you're overdosing, but you're not. Again, CB1 and CB2 receptors are not in the brainstem. And again, this is where breathing and heart rate are controlled. So, opioids, there are receptors in the brainstem, and that's why you can overdose. So, again, if you do feel like you're overdosing on THC, it would feel more like anxiety or feeling of harm, but no harm is actually occurring. Okay? Now, let's take a look at the blue here. So the blue is the CBD, the first column, the red is THC, but then you're looking at other cannabinoids. Again, there's over 150, but these show the predominant cannabinoids in the cannabis plant. There's just so many vast ways that CBD helps the body, which is really, really amazing. And there's some cases, of course, that I just mentioned where you do want certain levels of THC. So let's look at pharmacology milestones. Well, in 1988, CB1 receptor was identified, 92 CB2 receptor, and then the two endogenous cannabinoids that you make, anandamide and 2-AG, were identified in 92 and 95. I mean, this is recent. This is the largest medical discovery of our time. Really incredible. So, as a review, the endocannabinoid system is inside all living things with a vertebrae. The main function is homeostasis. We have the system of receptors and agonists all over your body. The main job of the endocannabinoid system, it's going to regulate, relax, eat, sleep, forget, and protect. And what they're calling it is a microcosm of psychoneuroimmunology or mind-body medicine. Really, really cool. So on the left, what I did is I took a look at the species. So you go from kingdom, subkingdom, all the way down to family. So look at family, Cannabacea. It's the hemp family, and it's broken up into two genuses, genus Cannabis L, which is hemp, and genus Humilis L, which is hop. So then I took the genus Cannabis L hemp category to the right and broke it down to species and subspecies. So under hemp, we have Cannabis sativa L, which is marijuana, and then you have indica and sativa. So different strains of considered the hemp plant, but even though it's called Cannabis sativa L. So just a little bit of nomenclature there. I did a literature review for my doctorate. Research categorized cannabis as being therapeutic, which means conclusive, substantial evidence that cannabis or cannabinoids are effective. And the main four areas right now with funding and clinical trials are around these four areas. So neurological and movement disorders, antispasmodic epilepsy. The second is cancer. So any sort of chemotherapy-induced nausea, vomiting, anti-angiogenesis pain, addiction and abuse potential, safety, and pain. So these are the four areas right now where they have proven that cannabis and cannabinoids have a very strong, substantial evidence that they are effective. This is a brief overview on the history of cannabis, 8,000 BCE. That's a long time ago, okay? And again, I don't have to go over all this. If you want to pause it and take a gander, you're happy to. All right, so today, 28 states and DC have legalized cannabis for medical conditions. 8 of these states and DC have also legalized cannabis for recreation. And in 2015 and 2016, anyone over the age of 12 reported use of cannabis at some point. A lot of people. So in Chinese medicine, this is an herb. So as an herbalist, we take a look at the flower, the root, the leaf, the seeds, different aspects of the plant. And in cannabis, that's as well. We mainly use the flower, but from a hemp plant, we might use the stalks, the leaves, the stems, etc. One thing I want to note is that Dr. Ethan Russo has coined the term endocannabinoid deficiency. And endocannabinoid deficiency is thought to be present in people that don't have a great diet, that are not exercising. They might have had substance abuse, maybe environmental toxins like mold, heavy metals, maybe genetic factors, and some sort of chronic stress, which has then compromised their health. So which means if the endocannabinoid system is to regulate homeostasis and you have symptoms or you have a chronic disease, then this means that your endocannabinoid system is not working. So you're going to want to take some cannabinoids from a plant long enough to kickstart your own system for working. So in human studies right now, your ECS deficiencies have been implicated in the following chronic diseases. So that came out in 2004 and in 2014. He also has coined something called endocannabinoid tone. So Dr. Ethan Russo, who's out of UPenn, he's a neurologist and cannabis researcher. So again, his endocannabinoid deficiency concept is a hypothesis that all humans have what he's calling an underlying endocannabinoid tone, and it's a reflection of the levels of anandamide and 2-AG, their production, the metabolism, and the relative abundance and state of your cannabinoid receptors. So what that means is that if you're deficient, you don't have endocannabinoid tone, you're not making anandamide and 2-AG, and so your body is deficient. So I want to go over pretty succinctly a few main aspects on the research on what CBD is doing in the body, because it is truly, truly exciting and profound. The first is gene transcription modulation. Okay, so CBD downregulates 517 different processes in the body and upregulates 656. So what that means is that it's going to upregulate glutathione synthesis genes. It's going to downregulate inflammatory cytokines and inflammatory receptors. So the protein is going to scan your DNA for any damage or mutation. And when it's discovered, like say you have a cancer cell, what's going to happen is that as your DNA opens, and again, the signal comes in to scan for some sort of, tumor or mutation, the CBD is going to come in and kind of like acts like a Pac-Man. It's going to block any of those processes that are going to express inflammation, and the gene that believes that the only job is to make more cancer cells, it's going to block that. And cellular apoptosis, which means cellular death, the CBD is going to come in and make sure that cancer cell does not produce any more. It's pretty amazing. In a simple standpoint, CBD has a much broader effect on THC on a transcription level. And it just means that CBD is going to change the way your genes are being read, which is really, really amazing. Neuroinflammation. So this little slide here, okay, so the top is brain inflammation, so which is neuroinflammation. So what happens is that you have this cycle. You have an inflammation trigger of those listed on the right, and then there's this cycle in the brain to maintain brain inflammation. What causes brain inflammation? Well, first of all, we know about football players. We know about concussions. That can start brain inflammation. It could be a trigger. Mercury, so heavy metals, mold, glyphosate, which is stuff Monsanto's putting out, Lyme toxins, EMF, so cell phones, dysbiotic toxins, glutamate, which is in the top there, so that's MSG. So all these things can start to trigger brain inflammation, okay? So let's think about this. Anandamide and 2-AG, which you produce, they're neuroprotective agents. They're produced by the nervous system upon both chemical or mechanical trauma. That was discovered by Mechoulam in 2002. So what happens is you take CBD, it's going to stop the cycle of this neuroinflammation. So if you eat Chinese food with MSG, if you were exposed to mercury, mold, a lot of mold on cannabis and coffee, if you have Lyme's, if you're using your cell phone a lot, you're going to want to be on CBD. Okay, pretty amazing. This slide just shows that cannabinoids modulate neuroplasticity. We were told that you can't regenerate brain cells. It's not true. So if you're interested in any sort of mechanism by which cannabinoids modulate neuroplasticity, there's a lot of information on that. The U.S. government has a patent on the health benefits of CBD being an antioxidant and a neuroprotectant. This was filed in 1999. date of the patent 2003. So federal government since 99, April, really invested and very well known the benefits of cannabinoids. So very briefly, I'm just going to go into some of the information and research being done around CBD. So GI digestion, so eating disorders, modulating appetite, chemotherapy, anorexia, eating disorders, nausea, Crohn's, obesity, diabetes. So a lot of information, a lot of research around how does CBD affect and benefit your GI and digestion. Remember, you have all those receptor sites in your immune system and digestion. Liver, if you drink alcohol, if you're on medication, you're going to want to be on CBD to help your liver function better. It's going to prevent accumulation of fats and lipids. It's going to really support antioxidant and glutathione pathways. Pain management. Most people in my practice are drawn or have been told about CBD because of pain. So the fourth bulletproof bullet down there affects perception of pain, which I love. For people that are in a lot of pain, CBD is going to help you not feel that pain so you can get up, you can be in the world, and start moving forward with eliminating the inflammatory process. CBD helps immensely with inflammation. Mental health, a lot around alcoholism, a lot around PTSD, vets coming back, schizophrenia, depression. Oh my gosh, the opiate epidemic. So a lot around cannabis and CBD and mental health. Brain health. We know a lot of people have seen Will Smith in the movie Concussion. We know about a lot of the NFL players that are now supporting cannabis on what it's doing around concussions and seizures, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, migraines. Again, clinical trials on the benefits. We now know through clinical trials that this cannabinoids and cannabis are beneficial. So CBD protects the liver from alcohol-induced steatosis. So again, if you're going to drink, I always recommend patients pump CBD before you drink, pump it in the morning. It's really going to help the liver filter out the alcohol. A lot around addiction with CBD. The Endocannabinoid System is looking at rewards around nicotine, alcohol, and opioids. So again, if you are dealing with drug abuse, any sort of addiction, you're going to want to look at cannabinoids and how they can help get you into more of a healthy state. So a lot of people don't understand the difference between hemp and cannabis. Now, this is a slide I took off from Herb Company, but I don't like to use the word marijuana. That's actually a negative term. I wish that was cannabis, but both are cannabis sativa, which we talked about. On the left, hemp is considered less than 0.3% THC, the psychoactive content, and cannabis 10%. On the left there, auto parts, soap, concrete. Hemp has been used, oh my gosh, all around the world for fabrics, textiles, paper, carpeting, home, auto parts, composting, industrial oils, a lot of different things. And then on the right, cannabis mainly has been, used as what? For hashish, cannabis oil, quote unquote pot, used for medicinal purposes and recreation. So to wrap up, the last stuff I want to talk about is how to empower you to understand, okay, now that I understand I have this endocannabinoid system, I have receptors all over my body for the cannabis plant. I might want THC, I definitely want CBD. I make these cannabinoids, but I might not be making anandamide and 2-AG enough because I'm having some symptoms of maybe not great sleep, maybe anxiety, depression, pain, inflammation. Maybe I just want to use it because I drink alcohol. Maybe I'm getting MSG in my food. I have mold on my coffee. Again, there's a lot of reasons to be on CBD. The first and foremost, as an herbalist, and as a Chinese doctor, content matters. This matters with our food. So it's even worse with cannabis because unfortunately there are people out there for profit first, then service. So again, organic, grown in the earth underneath the full spectrum rays of the sun, non-genetically modified, whole plant. You do want not only the cannabinoids, but the other parts of the plant, flavonoids, terpenes, all the constituents. And then you do want to buy from a farmer that it was cultivated and prepared properly to ensure bioavailability. Now, it's tempting to want to examine the benefits of the compounds in a cannabis plant separately, but it doesn't work like this in nature. So all the cannabinoids in cannabis, just like the endocannabinoids in the body, they have an interdependent and synergistic relationship with one another, although some of these compounds are found in very minute amounts, but it's important that they are prepared appropriately, not only to ensure the bioavailability, because you want a specific desired income. You want to start to feel better. So CBD works best combined with other cannabinoids. Um, Raphael Mechoulam, he's really saying that CBD cannabis is the next, is the new multivitamin. The main thing of putting this slide together is cannabis versus hemp CBD. Now, cannabis, like I said, has a lot of mold on it. So I want you to make sure that you're getting the testing done to make sure that the CBD that you're getting, the cannabis that you're getting, the THC doesn't have mold on it. Now, if you're looking at just getting CBD, which is great, then do you want to get a cannabis or hemp, industrial hemp-based CBD? The main thing is with hemp CBD is, depending on the company, it can lack critical medicinal terpenes and secondary cannabinoids found in the cannabis oil unless added in. And the last thing is industrial hemp. It's a bioaccumulator, so you're going to want to make sure that the companies that you're buying from have a really clean extraction. Super important that doesn't have herbicides, fungicides, and pesticides. So when you extract an oil from a plant or flower, it has terpenes and flavonoids. So obviously from a cannabis plant, it's going to have cannabinoids, but it's also going to have terpenes and flavonoids. So terpenes is what gives it the aromatic smell. If it has THC, you're going to smell it. It's going to smell kind of like a skunk. So these oils are secreted in the flower's sticky resin glands, the same ones that produce THC, CBD, and other cannabinoids. Now, terpenes are by no means unique to cannabis. They can be found in many herbs, fruits, or plants, but like cannabinoids, terpenes bind to receptors in the brain and give rise to many various health effects, which are great. So flavonoids, they're also a group of phytonutrients, and they give the color. That, think the blue in blueberries, the red in roses. So alongside cannabinoids like THC and CBD, and terpenes like limonene, flavonoids in cannabis also produce a range of effects. So commonly grouped together, flavonoids combine with each other and other cannabis phytonutrients. And what's going to happen is they play a high bioactive role in both the plant's consumption and cultivation. So flavonoids play a super important part. Now at this point, hopefully in the presentation, you're like, I definitely need to be on CBD, or maybe I want to have some THC, but how do I buy it? Well, delivery methods have to do with timing. First is inhalation. You can smoke a joint, you can vape. As a Chinese doctor, I really don't recommend smoking. The strength is that it's an easy onset. You can kind of judge how you're feeling. But some of the cannabinoids are evaporated in combustion when you're smoking through the smoke. Again, you're all smoking, so it's not ideal for the lungs. And I just feel like with vaporizing and smoking, it's not the most ideal delivery method. Now, having said that, if you are a very extreme patient that has a lot of pain and you're wanting to do THC, then I would say vaping every hour could be a good use of inhalation delivery method. Now, oral mucosal. This is my favorite one because it comes in a tincture and oil. It's I think it's a pretty fast onset. You hold it underneath your tongue, and because it's absorbed through the two blood vessels underneath the tongue, you don't have to digest it. You don't have to absorb it through the stomach, which means it crosses the blood-brain barrier in 30 seconds. It goes into the cell and does what it needs to do. So this is my favorite one. And I just, for so many reasons, if you really want to get the cannabinoids into the cell, into the bloodstream, oral mucosal is my favorite. Now, you could go through the stomach. You could do a capsule, you can do an edible, you can do a tincture. If it's in olive oil, coconut oil, or MCT oil, this means it's going to have to go through the stomach and you're going to have to digest it. So this is going to depend on your digestion and absorption. So not ideal It's same with Chinese herbs. You know, you don't really want a capsule. And again, with the tinctures in coconut oil or olive oil, I think they taste like olive oil or coconut oil. You're not really getting the amount of cannabinoids that you need, so you're gonna have to spend more money. Because you know, actually, this one with the enteral, a lot of people will try CBD and say it doesn't work. It's because they didn't get the amount of milligrams into the cell. I love topicals. I love salves. I love liniments. Patches are okay, but I like it because you're rubbing on that place of pain. Super great anti-inflammatory, muscle relaxant. A lot of different salves, a lot of different liniments. Just make sure they're clean, they're organic. I'm happy to give you some resources. Patches are okay. I really feel like ripping off a patch isn't ideal, but they have a slow onset. So for some people that are having a long-term pain and they have a 12-hour dose, sometimes it's nice because they're not wanting to rub something on and get their hands all sticky and stuff like that. I would say talk to your doctor if you're going to do rectal. Some people really like it. I'm not a proponent of it. I think it's really inconvenient. But again, if you're into that, then of course look into it. So I want to talk about nano. You had to learn to read a food label. You had to learn to read a supplement label. And nano is a size of a particle. And what happens is that some of the people that are coming out with CBD oil now, they're using this marketing called nano, but it depends on the size of the nanometer, because they could be marketing a nano particle of over 500 nanometers when you're not going to absorb it. You want a product that maybe is 12 nanometers. So 12 versus over 500, that's a big deal. So what happens is that you will take the CBD. It says nano. It's kind of like back in the day when the organics, it started labeling food, and it says all natural on it, which means nothing. Very similar. So as far as the nano, the main thing I wanted to share with you is that it's about clearance and size. Once it's in the blood, the larger the molecule, the faster it's going to be cleared from the blood. So if you want it to be in longer circulation and better absorption through the blood-brain barrier, you're going to want it under 100 nanometers, okay? So the advantages of having the oil droplet encapsulated and to stabilize the water-soluble compound and to make sure its bioavailability is called liposomal, and it's just a fat lipid. So I really prefer liposomal CBD that is nano. Again, you don't have to absorb it underneath the tongue for 30 seconds. A really great way to take advantage of getting all the cannabinoids into the body efficiently. So what makes a good liposome? Well, of course, efficient compound delivery, fast absorption, again, particle size. Okay, so again, a lot of companies are using these buzzwords of nano or liposomal, but the problem is that depending on the size of the particle, you won't be absorbing it. So unfortunately, companies that are using this technology and the nanometer size, recognizing quality, you might not know this as a beginner mind. We've had to do research on all the different companies and privately testing, spending our own money to look how to recognize quality. So you'll notice, just even with this hemp extract, there is on the right, that is a nano liposomal hemp extract. And you can see, would you want to take the one on the right? Absolutely not. So when you do a very small CBD hemp oil, right, at half the dose, you're going to get 5 times much absorption. Same size bottle, same price. So again, for a 1.7 ounce, $150, you would have to buy 5 of those bottles to a nano liposomal 1 bottle, 5 to 1. And you're talking what? $150 times 5 to get the amount of milligrams into the blood after an hour of CBD. It ends up being a dollar amount. So testing is going to be important. Terpene profiling. Terpenes are produced in trichomes. That's where THC is produced. It gives cannabis that distinct flavor and aroma. Pesticide screening. Pesticides are used in commercial cannabis grow operations to kill insects and spiders that thrive on cannabis plants. But pesticides are carcinogenic and mutagenic, so they cause serious harm to cannabis consumers, especially immunocompromised medical cannabis users. So that's super important. Residual solvents. I mean, residual solvents are leftover chemicals from the process used to extract cannabinoids and terpenes from the plant. So the solvents are evaporated to prepare a high concentration of oils and waxes. Sometimes the evaporation process does not remove all the solvents. So since these solvents are not safe for human consumption, it's very important to verify their absence so you know that you're getting a safe chemical-free product. Heavy metals. So metals can be found in soil and fertilizers. So as cannabis plants grow, they take up metals from the soil. Heavy metals are a group of metals considered to be toxic. They include lead, cadmium, arsenic, mercury. So again, you want to make sure that the cannabis you're buying is tested in a lab to ensure that you don't have these toxic concentrations of hazardous metals. And then mycotoxins analysis, I talked about this. So cannabis has a high moisture content. So long-term storage of cannabis can allow fungal growth known as mold. So mycotoxins are a toxic secondary metabolite of mold. So again, why be taking cannabis that has mold on it? Okay? No. So in my research, I recommend everybody be on a nano-enhanced hemp oil. That's first and foremost. Why? It's 100% non-GMO. It's organic. It has the technology to get into the bloodstream within 30 seconds. It has 97 to 100% absorption underneath the 2 blood vessels of the tongue. You don't have to go through the stomach and rely on your digestion for absorption. It's amazing. It's a dietary supplement. It's considered the new multivitamin. It's approved for infants and legal in all 50 states. You can get it for $119 on a monthly auto ship. I'm happy to give you my website. And plus tax and shipping, cancel anytime. If you live in Santa Cruz or anywhere in the greater Bay Area or know me, you're more than welcome to buy from my clinic for $149 plus tax. So if you want topicals, if you want recommendations on balm, if you're feeling like you want THC for a specific condition and are not sure to get a 4-to-1, a 10-to-1, a 20-to-1, please reach out to me. I'm happy to share any sort of information I have. If you're interested in CBD or cannabis for a specific condition or diagnosis, get on PubMed. Talk to your local doctor. You know, I'm passionate about educating you that the fact that you have this endocannabinoid system, that you make cannabinoids, that you might not be making cannabinoids, and you can take phytocannabinoids from a plant, from cannabis, to jumpstart your own system. How long will you need to take an external cannabinoid until you make the appropriate amount for you? That depends on you, your genetics, your lifestyle, your diet. So I want to end with thanking you so much for taking the time, these 42 minutes, on listening to this very basic intro to the endocannabinoid system and the health benefits of cannabis. I really, really want everybody to get curious on what would it be like if you got these cannabinoids into your bloodstream, and what would it feel like? How could you up level and start feeling better than you ever could imagine? Really, really amazing. So, LeTa, licensed acupuncturist and herbalist based in Santa Cruz, California. And please reach out, ask questions. If you want me to give you some referrals for some companies I love, I am happy to do that. And again, thank you so much, and I hope you have a beautiful day. Take care.